to remind each other to breathe? Well, I have to show you something today. I got a letter many years back from one of my best friends who we went to ministerial school together, and she was congratulating me way back then on my 6th year of ministry, but she wrote the letter on a puzzle. And the only way I could read the letter was to put together the puzzle, and I think it was the most fun letter that I ever got. And it made me think about, you know, it's such a metaphor for life, that all the parts of our life, everything we've gone through, everything we've done, are like pieces of the puzzle that have made us who we are today, right? And I know I got a few pieces missing. Yeah. Don't remind me. But today we're going to look at each one of our pieces. What are the pieces of your puzzle? And as I share mine, know that yours are different, but we're all ended up in the same place today. And all those pieces brought us all together. I was looking back over the years and how long I've been studying the things we talk about here. And I start with Joseph Campbell being one of my puzzle pieces. I see everybody's head nodding. Wasn't he wonderful? What a great gift he was to the world. Still is. And it was all about, you know, the hero's journey, which I'm not going to talk a lot about because I've done that before. But a brief summary is about how we all, growing up, we left home and we had all these challenges and obstacles to overcome, all these things that we meet every day. And then many years later, we return back to what Scripture says, the Father's house, back to, you know, back to our original state. And yet we're so much stronger, so much wiser, so much better than we were at the beginning. And when I think about it, I always share, you know, the movie The Hobbit with Frodo and Sam leaving home on their great adventure. And Sam, you know, getting to that place where he doesn't take that next step. He says, Frodo, I know when I take this next step, I'm going to go beyond, further than I've ever been before. And I see that each day of our lives, we have to take another step. I got stretch marks. I don't know about you all. You don't want to see them, but I got stretch marks, all the things that I've had to step out in faith and do. And so today we're going to talk about the hero's journey, part 2, as Paul Harvey would say, the rest of the story. There's people that don't know who he is anymore. But those spiritual pieces of the puzzle, not just what happens to us in life, but those spiritual pieces we have gathered that make us go beyond, further than what we've ever believed, further than what we ever thought was possible. And the first one I have to say was from my family of origin. They can teach us a lot, the good, the bad, and the ugly, right? But my family of origin taught me more than anything else was humor. You can't get through this life without humor. You cannot take this life too seriously. And if you haven't laughed at least 10 times this week, you're taking it far too seriously. And I know last week I was kind of sad with Martin Luther King's Day and how it seems like we've gone backwards. But just to prove I got my sense of humor back, I'm going to tell a story this morning. It may get me kicked out of here, but I'm almost 70, so what the heck. It's from the book of Leviticus 20:13. If a man lies with another man, he should be stoned. Now, after legalizing gay marriage, Canada legalized marijuana as well. Now you're legally allowed to get stoned while having gay sex. The first country on earth to be able to interpret that Bible verse correctly. You know, my Gemini mind gathers all this trivia, and that's part of my puzzle piece, is all that trivia. And so again, as I share my story about all the pieces I've gathered, think of what your pieces are. Think of what yours are, because we all ended up together here today. Now, I grew up Catholic. You know my Catholic stories. You may have grown up Methodist or Church of Christ or Buddhist, Hindu, or no religion at all. Sometimes that's the safest, I don't know. But how many here grew up Catholic like me? Okay, there's a few of us recovering, okay? So here's, you know, for those of you who didn't raise your hands if you're not sure, you know you grow up Catholic When you go to a movie theater and you genuflect before you enter the room. Anybody done that? You know you grew up Catholic when someone says, "May the force be with you," and you say, "And also with you." You know you grew up Catholic when you really go to church for your aerobics. Stand up, sit down, kneel down, stand up, sit down, kneel down, repeat 6 times. And I laugh about all my Catholic jokes growing up, and I usually speak of it as something I ran away from because of the sin, hell, and damnation and all the church rules over spiritual principles. But yet I have to admit, deep, deep down, it gave me this deep, deep faith in the mystery. Such faith. And a desire for more, a desire to know more about spirit, even though I was not real clear what that was. And even though the worship sort of separated us, you know, the priests were up there. When I grew up, there was an altar between us representing that separation from God. And even though we were bored out of our minds because we weren't involved, we learned to sit quietly in the silence. And when I wasn't daydreaming about the guy in the pew 2 rows over, every once in a while, I tap into spirit by sitting in the quiet as it was all going on. So there were things I got there that kept that real strong faith and desire for spirit. And then after my healing miracle, I became obsessed with the search for truth in all things, in all philosophies. In the 80s and 90s, I didn't just read books, I devoured them like an addict on drugs. I couldn't get enough, and you didn't see me without a book in my hand. And one of the books was, of course, Joseph Campbell's, where I learned that the same stories were in all cultures, all around the world, different characters, but the same truth, the same spiritual principles were being taught. And way back then, I also found Ken Carey. Anybody here a Ken Carey fan? I know Michael's a great Ken Carey fan. You are, not many people, just you and Michael, there's only 2. Anyway, I read him way back when, and I didn't have the patience back then, The Return of the Bird Tribes. But I recently was, dug out the old books again. The Third Millennium is the best. And it's all, he takes you back and you feel like you were there as God evolved through the whole formation of the universe. And how much of a part of that all we are. Because there is only one presence, one power. And how divine love is manifesting the whole universe through us. And we are constantly expanding that potential of what we can be. And right in the way he writes it, the ego's not a bad thing. The physical plane is not a bad thing. It's divine too. Everything is divine. We just have to lift it up into the higher states of awareness and consciousness. We don't have to give up our individuality or the physical experience. We just have to transform it out of fear and into the love that we truly are. And then I finally found unity. By the way, how many unity people does it take to change a light bulb? 3, many of you have heard this. 1 to hold the ladder, 1 to actually screw the light bulb in, and 1 to stand around giving hugs. And I should add a 4th one to bring snacks, I think. But in unity, we all read the book, Discover the Power Within You. And I woke to this metaphysical principles. The power of the mind, that we can create whatever we desire through the power of the mind. Wow, I was fascinated by that. And collectively what we can create. Now, back when I came into unity, it tells you how old I am. They really emphasize this manifesting stuff. I don't know how many of you, when you came into unity, it was all about, I am prosperous, and I can manifest and have anything I want. And yet there's a certain amount of truth to that. And yet it also became frustrating if things didn't go your way, or you couldn't always manifest, or it seemed to be taking so long. We were learning metaphysics, but we were still learning from a sense of separation. The Father and I are one almost implies 2 beings coming together as one. There was still that sense of separation, and it was very frustrating when things didn't go the way we thought. We thought there was something wrong with us. I know here in Green Valley, as I'm dealing with some of the older true students in both religious science and unity. And I go visit them and they feel so guilty. I'm in pain, I'm sick, what did I do wrong? Am I not thinking right? Is this bad karma? And I just want to say, no, 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 that's not the whole truth. That's not what it is. There's so much more to life than we realize. We have to look at what our life purpose was in coming here. We have to look at what we need to do to strengthen our soul, to become a stronger, better soul being. And then mainly we have to shift from creating from the idea of separation, creating from the idea of unity. I'm not just one with God, I am God in expression. And then it takes on a whole different life. And then we have to go back to the mystical path, not metaphysically trying to make everything happen in your life. That can turn into a control freak. Anybody here control freak?
Oh, no.
The mystical path is about letting go. I know my union with God and I let go and allow my life to unfold, like a rose allows itself to unfold. A rose doesn't say, I want that petal to go this way and I want that petal to go, and this petal better be pink. You know, the rose doesn't do that. It surrenders to the experience of being divine love and allowing that love to unfold. Now another piece of my puzzle was Joel Goldsmith, the Infinite Way teachings. I'm not talking about Joel Osteen, the evangelist on TV. I'm not talking about him. I'm talking about the American mystic, Goldsmith. And he, you know, I read so many of his books because once you start, he's got about 100 of them. And, you know, he kind of poo-hooed metaphysics. He forget metaphysics. Just know your oneness with God. I should have quit there. But I kept reading. When I found the Course in Miracles, that was another puzzle piece. That could be the most irritating piece of the puzzle on the spiritual path, but it's also the most profound and probably changed my life as much as coming into unity. People are often turned off by people who study the Course because often they run around saying to people, it's not real, it's not real. And I always tell my students, I don't ever want to hear anyone going to someone who's suffering and saying it's not real. The pain and the experience feels real. But when we understand that life is just a dream, a dysfunctional dream, but a dream nonetheless, it takes the fear out of it. And we know that through forgiveness, if we forgive and accept what's going on, that we can change that experience through our perception, through how we see it, through how we forgive, through how we let go. What a piece of the puzzle that was for me. And it took me years of studying it before I really felt like I got it. And then here at Unity over the last year or so, we've gone from there to a course of love. All about living as if you know your union with God is true. You know, I consider myself fairly smart. You give me a test, I'll study for it and cram for it, I can pass it. But knowing I'm one with God and living like I'm in union is a whole other thing. So we're training to live our life from that place of union. And the Course kind of divides that up into 3 areas. One is just being. Everyone here, we are all love being. Notice I didn't say we're all being love, but we're all love being in different states of awareness. And then there's the idea of relationship. That in order for love to express, love is always in relationship with, you know, each other, with nature, with every situation, with everything around us. And we're either in relationship with love or fear, one or the other. The Father and I are one. We're back to that again. The word relationship almost implies separation, doesn't it? So we have to go from being to relationship to union. Oh, I am that I am, once again. I am extension. I am extending divine love. Now we create from union and love. And when we're doing that, again, it comes back to surrender and trusting what is, no matter what it is. Is that the toughest discipline ever? No matter what is, trusting what is, that divine love is moving through this, taking me where I need to be within this. And when we create from union, There's no effort or struggle because you're not trying to control it. There's no need to know how it's going to happen. Where's it going to come from? What's going to go on? We just give love to any idea and know our union. And we surrender and allow the grace to flow through. And it's sort of beyond free will. When you think of free will, you're back to control. And I'm not saying we give up free will, but it's giving way to a higher power, our higher self, which has a more expanded free will because it sees the whole piece of the puzzle. It doesn't just see one puzzle piece. It sees the whole picture. And when we give way to that expanded self, following those inner promptings, love takes us beyond what we could ever imagine, taking that step like Sam and Frodo into a whole expanded way of being. And that's why I think of all my puzzle pieces, surrender has been the most important one for me. That's just for me. Some people get really, my best friend gets really irritated when I say that word. But it doesn't mean giving up or giving way to some other being. It means giving way to that higher power that sees the whole piece of the puzzle. My healing miracle did not happen through metaphysics. I was praying to die at that point. Didn't feel good. I didn't want to be there any longer. But through surrender, that grace flowed in and through, allowing me to expand the love that I am and allow that to come forth. Would you repeat with me, if you're comfortable? In union with grace I arrive. Together, in union with grace I arrive. And you can fill in whatever you want in that. In union with grace I am guided. In union with love I am healed. In union with love, whatever. But always begin knowing, in union, not just my egoic mind creating this. We create from that greater experience as divine love, while trusting what is on the hero's journey. That's why it's the hero's journey, because we have to trust what is while we're affirming our oneness. And that one size fits all, knowing your union, one size fits all. I am divine love extending as healing strength, as guidance, as comfort, as abundance, and yes, even prosperity. I am divine love, creating that in my life now. So when you go home today, get the pieces of your puzzle together. What are those pieces of your puzzle? What's your credo? What do you believe? What have you found? Put your puzzle together. Write it on a letter on the back of a puzzle and give it to me. Now make sure the puzzle's no more than 50 pieces or I'll never get them all together. What are your pieces of your puzzle? People that have helped you, books you've read, experiences you've had, relationships. And yes, a lot of the pieces are going to be painful. Some of them are going to be sad. But all the pieces put together take you into that expanded, glorious extension of God that you are. Well, let's take that into prayer. God, we are willing to surrender to each moment. Knowing our union, we release all fear, calling forth the grace of divine love, moving in and through each situation of my life. And together with everyone here, collectively, we allow the power that we are right here in this room. Can you imagine the power together that we have right here, right now? Holding that thought of unity, love, and oneness for the planet Earth, for the people on it, for all that live here. We are divine, we are light, we are love, and we choose to live from our union with God, releasing all thoughts of separation. And once again, we say thank you, Father, Mother God, as we affirm this in the nature of the Christ, and so it is. Amen.